Hi, this is the Journey Map Slideshow After Effects template customization tutorial. Let's get started by doing an overview of the project. So if we go to our project panel, and you'll see we have some folders here. We have our elements folder, which has all of our pre-comps and solids and any source files we've used to create the template. And next we have the map control panel. And this is a composition where you can customize the map, move the dot positions, change the colors, etc. Our next folder is our render comp, and this is the composition we have open right now. Our next folder is replace images here, and we have each scene is divided into subfolders, and they each have 5 placeholders. The next folder is a replace logo here. This is where you replace your logo. The next folder is replace text, and this is these are all the compositions to replace your text banners in each scene. The next folder is a scenes folder, and these are also subdivided into separate folders. So if you go to the location slideshows, and you can double click to open the location, each of these compositions here in the project panel, or you can do them directly in the composition timeline in the render comp to open up those individual slideshow scenes. And if we take a look in our timeline, you'll see our layers are in order from intro, location, slideshow 1 through 10, and then it ends with the closing scene. We also have 2 layers to that fade up from black, and then a layer at the end that fades out to black. And you can turn those off or delete those if you don't need them. There's a lot to customize, so we'll get started first and foremost with the map control panel. I suggest starting here because wherever you move these dots determines where they're going to end up in the slideshows, and you'll see what I mean when we're done customizing it. So we're going to double click to open the map control panel. Let me zoom out here because this is a rather big composition. As you can see, this is a guide layer. Down here the text says move the current time indicator to around 1 minute 7 seconds to see all the dots on the map. So the reason why you're seeing nothing, and don't freak out, is because these are animated, and the animation is being controlled with a time remap layer marker expression in each scene. It's a little bit complicated. I'm not going to get into that because you don't need to know all that. If you're interested, I might make a tutorial showing you how I did that. But for the sake of this customization tutorial, we're just going to go ahead and skip to like around 1 minute, past the 1 minute mark for sure. That way you can see all of our dots. So we have 10 locations. You certainly don't have to use all 10 locations. If you go to our map controls layer in the timeline, then go to the effects controls panel. We'll look through these controls in a minute. But at the bottom, you can see a checkbox for turning on different locations. And I figured you might need at least 3 locations. So we started with 4. You can start turning them off. And if you select turn on location 4 and hold down the shift key and select turn on location 10, you can turn all of those off at the same time. And now you can click on any of these dots and move them around. As you can see, the path, the distance or the length of that line automatically adjusts to wherever you move these dots around. So if we go back to our map controls, we'll turn those back on. There we go. And these numbers that are attached to the dots, those are guide layers. They don't show up in the animation. You can even change that text to something else if you didn't want it to be numbered. If you actually had like a location, you can, if it makes it easier for you, you can change the text there. And like I said, they don't show up anywhere else other than this map composition. So I'm just going to change this map a little bit. You can even start your map on the opposite side of this composition. And because these are numbered, it makes it a little bit easier. Whoops, okay. Just be sure to select that dot from the center. Makes it easier. Here we go. And if you had an actual map, like if you had a screenshot from Google Maps or something, you can import it. Go to File, Import File, and import that image or screenshot. And then you would drag and drop that image into this composition, and you would drag it all the way to the bottom, so it's underneath all of these layers. And then you would either make it a guide layer by right clicking on any layer and going to select guide layer, or you can just turn it on or off if you need a reference. For this tutorial, we're just going to kind of make something up here. Okay, and if we go back to our map controls, you'll see some options set up to control the look of your map. So you can change the size of these dots. You can make them big or small. You can make that outline disappear around the dots, or you can make it bigger. You can change the colors with these color pickers. Just something ridiculous just to prove our point. So there you go. And you can also change the width of this path, like the stroke width. So if you wanted to make that larger or even smaller, you can do that as well. There you go. We changed our map. And if we go back to our render comp and we take a look at our intro scene, you'll see that our little map animation is updated. There we go. So what we're going to do is walk you through customizing one of the scenes, and hopefully this will give you an idea of what you need to do for each scene. They all work the same. So if we go through the controls just one time, hopefully you'll be able to get a good grasp of what you need to do. So the first thing we're going to do is go to our scenes folder, twirl that down, go to location slideshows, and double click to open location slideshow 01. Now, as you can see, our map is nowhere to be found. And that's because our map controls need to be adjusted. If we select the map controls layer, go up to our effects controls panel, you'll see a large map position, large map size. And this is for the intro map animation that's shown at the beginning of each slideshow. And then if you look down to the last two options, you see small map position and small map size. And that's for the map that's shown in the corner. After that first intro animation goes away, there's a second one. There's our little map in the corner. So you can control the position and the size for the smaller map dot and the larger one that should be here, but it's not, because we ended up moving our map so much. We actually moved to the opposite side of where it was starting in our preview. So what we need to do is go to our large map position, and we need to make some adjustments here. And you might need to sort of drag here on our X position, bring that over. And if these numbers get too confusing, or you're dragging on them and you still don't know where anything is, you can go to the reset button, and that usually will reset this to somewhere where you can actually see the dot, and then you'll make your adjustments. I went a little too far down. Remember, this is a large map. Whoops, we're going the wrong way. So you're just going to drag on those numbers for the point control. And we can see our large map size is set to 100, but it still looks a little bit small. You can go to the map Z position, and this the Z position, because this is rotated at a 90-degree angle, the Z position is going to control how far away or how close the map is to the camera. I hope that makes sense. So if you drag on the slider, we're going to drag to the left, you'll see this moving towards us. So this is another way for you to adjust the size of this map as well. There we go. And also make a note that the Z position and the map rotation affects both the large and the small map. I'll explain the map rotation in another slideshow, because it's kind of difficult to tell where it's rotating if you just have one dot, because it's circular. Let's skip forward And you'll see that our dot is way over here because we changed our Z position. So we're going to adjust our small map position again. There we go. And you can make that size a little bit smaller. So you have complete control over where these dots show up. So let's go back to our project panel and let's go to our Replace Images Here folder, twirl that down, go to the Replace Location Images 01 folder, twirl that down, and double click to open Replace Location 01 Image 01. So here we have our image placeholder, and you can add your video or photos if you want to this composition. And so this is just a dummy placeholder. You can delete this layer or you can turn it off. Now we're going to import our image. We'll go to File, Import, File, and we'll navigate to our folder and we'll select an image and click Open. And you'll select your imported image file and you'll drag it into the composition timeline. And you can actually select the image in the comp viewer. You can drag it around. If you want to make this image a little smaller, you can twirl down to our transform properties and go to scale and then drag left and right on these numbers here. If you want something a little more accurate, you can right click on that image, go to transform, and then fit to comp width. There we go. So now you're fitting that image into the exact width of that composition. If we go back to our location slideshow, you'll see our image. And this, yes, is an image of Boston and not San Francisco. So to change our text, we'll go back to our project panel, go to the Replace Text Here folder, twirl that down, and double click to open Type Location Here 01. And in this composition, you'll see some text layers here. And we also have a lot of hidden layers as well. So if you click on the Shy button, or the Shy switch, there's a few layers in here that are shied. And you probably don't need to worry about those. But if you do, there's a divider line. This is just this one line here. If you don't want that, you can just turn that off. So we'll leave that back on and we'll click the Shy button. And there's some text layers here. You can tell they're text layers by how they have this capital T icon next to them in the timeline. And you can double click on any of those text layers and start typing. All right, and if we click on the banner control layer and go to our effects controls panel, you can see we have a few options. You can change the banner color if you wish. You can change the length of that banner. So we have a shorter word here. We can shorten that if we want. We can change the color of that divider line. We can change the weather icon color. And we can also change the weather icon. So we have a sunny icon. We have a cloudy icon. Cloudy with suns, and obviously this is not every possible weather icon, but pretty close. There's rain icon, thunderstorm, and snow. And if you don't want any weather icons, you can just leave all these unchecked and they'll all disappear. To change the color of these text layers, you'll want to select them and then go to the character panel to change the colors there. If we go back to our location slideshow composition, you'll see that our changes have been made. So one more thing I want to show you in the slideshow composition, there's a layer labeled lower overlay. And what this is a gradient ramp layer that helps with the visibility of the text. So if we select it and hit E on our keyboard to bring up the effect, twirl that down and select a start of ramp. And if you look closely in our comp viewer, you'll see these little crosshairs. If you select them and move them, we'll select this bottom one. Oh, we're in the wrong one. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, you'll see this, there we go. This gradient. And this is just to help with if you have a lighter colored image for your placeholder and then you have white text. This just provides a little bit of a gray gradient overlay so that you can see that text pops out a little more. You can certainly remove this if you want to, just turn the layer off if you like. And if we open up this location slideshow intro composition, just double click to open that, there's a lower overlay in here as well for the main title. So if you hit E on your keyboard again, select the gradient ramp, you'll see these crosshairs in here. They're red. And if you drag on them, see there's the gray, then you can drag the white up so that way it's a little bit more of a gradient there. You don't have to use this, and you can certainly adjust this if you like. So let's go back to our render comp, and we're going to skip ahead to one of our locations down here. Maybe location slideshow 08. Let's double click to open that one. And as you can see, we're skipping ahead so we can see more dots, and we see that our map needs to be adjusted. So let's look at our larger map, and you'll see it's way over here on the left. If you go to our map controls, go to the effects controls panel and select the large map position. We want to try to move that. I'll move this up. I'm going to move until we see our little flag. There we go. And if we go to our Z position, let's go ahead and click the reset button. There we go. I'm going to adjust this. Now, as you get more dots and more paths in this map animation, you really have a lot of control over the look of this. So if you want to see the path that you've already traveled, you can certainly leave this as is, but then your image or your banner might be a little bit small. You can always make that a little bit bigger, but then you can't really see the back. Remember, you can't see the right side. A way that you have more control over this is by going to the map rotation setting right here. And if you just drag on these numbers here, you can rotate the path, and the text will still keep facing you no matter where you rotate it. So it's always facing forward, but you can move the map anywhere you like, or you can rotate it. So you have a lot of control over where you want this map shown in your slideshow, and it's totally up to you how you want to make this work. So I just wanted to show you that. Oh, and also if you change the rotation for the large map, it's also going to change for the smaller one. So just to be aware of that. And we have our, our map size in this scene is set really small, so we want to adjust that. There we go. So that's pretty much it for customizing this template. A few things before we go. To replace the logo, just go to the Replace Logo Here folder and double click to open the Replace Logo Here composition. This is where you would drag and drop in your logo. And in our Replace Text Here folder, we have some extra text scenes set up. So if you wanted to add another composition and throw in another animated text scene, we have these are from the preview. If you double click on the extra text scene 01, if you remember from the preview, we have this little animation for the features, and we left that animation in here. If you wanted to use that, you can always just change the text. And of course, there's a second one where we animated this text scene showing the music and the artist. So if you get stuck or have any questions, feel free to email me, marissa@fluxvfx.com, or reach out through my profile page on videohive.net. Thanks.